Hey, I'm Ed Sosha, North American Insight Director at Data Center Hawk. We're back today with another Hawk Talk coming to you from 165 Halsey Street in Newark, New Jersey. 165 Halsey is one of the most highly interconnected carrier hotels in the Northeast, and it doubles as a co-location data center. Today, I'm joined by the Executive Vice President of Tishman Real Estate Services, James Fitzgerald, along with Joe Pinella, the General Manager here at 165 Halsey Street. Gentlemen, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for being here, Ed.
So let's start off. Why don't we, James, we'll start with you. Why don't you give us the background of James and how you came to be at 165 Halsey?
Sure. Thanks for that, Ed. So Tishman Real Estate Services has been involved at 165 Halsey Street since its inception as a carrier hotel co-location facility 25 years ago. We've acted primarily in a licensing and leasing function, which I've been directly in charge of for, or involved in, I should say, for about 10 years. So I've gotten to know Joe and the team here over many years.
Awesome. Joe?
So I started here a little over 14 years ago. When I started, we were primarily the building meet me room, and we were just starting to develop a data center business here that was more expansive. They brought me in to kind of master plan operations, start hiring people, kind of develop the operational infrastructure of the building.
Awesome. This is a really incredible building. You can really sense the history and the architecture is second to none. So why don't you guys give us a little background on, I guess, the history of 165 Halsey Street. What did it used to be before it was turned into the interconnection hub that it is today?
So 165 Halsey Street was originally a Bamberger's department store. Bamberger's was bought by Macy's.
The flagship store.
A flagship store. At one point in time, it was the largest department store in the country back in the 1920s. The ownership group bought 165 Halsey Street in the late 90s as a completely vacant building. And, you know, we could spend a lot of time going through the very specific details of how we got to where we are now. But over that period of time, they've developed, what it became today, which is, a million plus square feet of dedicated Colo and data center operations. Yeah.
Awesome. So I guess when we think about all of the connectivity hubs, all of the carrier hotels, what really sets you guys apart, in your opinion, from the rest of those?
We have the ability to do pretty large deals here and leverage the connectivity that we have for larger customers. So most meet me rooms you're going to go to, most carrier hotels, you have a lot of carriers, and that's really about it. Here we have the ability to do large deals for internet companies, content creators, banks, and they can leverage the connectivity here that we have via the Meet Me Room.
I think what sets 165 Halsey apart from a lot of other carrier hotels and Colo providers is it's a privately owned kind of intimate group of, from starting with ownership and then the rest of the teams with Joe's staff, our third-party engineers, architects, construction managers. We kind of pride ourselves on the lack of red tape that some other competitors, for lack of a better term, have because they're just, much bigger, international or otherwise. But, we pride ourselves again on our customer service and our ability to provide exactly what it is down to the smallest detail of what our customer is looking for. And that can be anybody from a single cabinet user to multiple megawatts in a dedicated compartment somewhere in this, big building. So flexibility, optimization is really our selling point.
Let's talk about the design of the building and how much power capacity is here today.
So the design of the building, it's a 14th story building with 2 elevator motor rooms above that. And then above that, we have a kind of a dish farm. We have microwave dishes, antennas. We have data centers on the 2nd, 4th, 6th, 9th, and 11th floor. And we maintain most of those floors completely. The building also has a total of around 80 megawatts of power.
I mentioned, the inception of this building for its use today, started 25 years ago. In that time, The ownership group has developed, well, it originated with about an 8,000 square foot Colo room back in the early 2000s. That has grown to about 450,000 square feet of owner-operated Colo facilities over 6 or 7 distinct rooms. The total capacity currently sold or being used, 25 to 30 megawatts. And as Joe mentioned, we have runway without any real roadblocks. We have a clear path to upwards of 80 megawatts available. I mentioned how big this building is. It's about 1.2 million square feet. So we have ample physical space to house all of this as demand calls for it. But from an operations standpoint, we're in the Colo business and are always looking to try to stay ahead of customer demand. So at any point in time, we'll have anywhere from 1 to 3 megawatts of available white space, Colo space. And as we approach capacities or reduction in capacity due to leasing or licensing, we've got a master plan 5, 10, 15 years to start leveraging what's available to us above what's here today, that getting to that 80 megawatts. We've earmarked specific spaces for our next Colo facility and the one beyond that. So again, we try to keep ahead of the demand so that, again, we're able to tailor to a customer's needs in a very expeditious way.
We've also had pretty credible assurances from PSE&G that they can provide us power beyond the 80 megawatts. So we've started to clear out space in the basement for future bus rooms. So we plan on, if needed, taking the building beyond that if we can.
So in a world, or said differently, in a time of power constraints across the country, you guys seem pretty well positioned.
I would say so, yeah. Yes.
Newark's a growing city,
Yeah.
So they're building a lot of infrastructure here power-wise. So we're kind of piggybacking off of that.
Yeah, and it speaks to the longevity of this ownership group specifically and the team that Joe's built over that period of time. PSE&G is a great partner in understanding what this building is and means to Newark and the metro area, really. We saw Joe's developed, and you have a pretty good working relationship with them, and they're very responsive.
Yeah, that sounds like a great partner on the utility side for sure. So let's talk about how you took this building from the former Macy's building to the thoughtful, well-designed, fluid sort of connectivity hub and colocation center it is today. When we were doing our tour earlier, you mentioned removing some of the, or repurposing rather, some of the shafts to run some conduits through. You've mentioned, some of your Colo space is you're bringing in the white floor where it's necessary. But I guess, where is the vision there? How have you taken it to where it is today, and how do you plan to continue to sort of adapt and grow with these changing requirements as they arise?
Sure. So, I mean, just from a physical product standpoint, this building, but for a department store is built for a data center. Yeah. From anywhere from column spacing to the vertical transportation that, to your point, we've repurposed for available shaft space to run conduits, power, fiber, and all of that kind of stuff. With the floor loads, again, this is a very big, bulky building, and it just allows for high floor loads. And you can, again, with the column spacing, you can really pack in racks and cabinets and cages. To your point about, how will we continue to grow and adapt with the times. As I mentioned, we kind of master plan this building, and we talk about it every week. So the 5-year plan changes every 2 weeks, but it's something that's we have a pretty good thumbprint on. We take in and made considerable investments to account for the ever-changing demand and needs. Joe, you can speak a little bit to the chiller plants, which not only service what we have available today, but we've invested and put the infrastructure in place to expand on those as more powers comes into the building or customers grow, so on and so forth. So again, we just try to optimize the physical plant to anticipate the unknown. Try to be able to be fluid, flexible in an industry where building white space takes time, and we know customers generally you want to see that reduced. So we've taken some pretty strong measures to account for future growth in a in the most expeditious way.
So let's talk about infrastructure. Joe, why don't you kind of give us the rundown a little bit on maybe redundancy and how you're serving your clients?
So one of the things we did was we started to realize that if we were going to build each room independently, we were going to run out of space on the roof. So what we decided to do was build a master plant for the majority of the building. And we built a 4,000-ton centrifugal chiller evaporative cooling plant on the roof. And we ran pipes throughout the entire building, and they're stubbed out every other floor. So whenever we build a data center, now we can just extend those pipes and run chilled water to it. We also built a 15 meg upgradable generator plant in the first floor. And then we just drop engines in as we need them. So this allows us to kind of keep going without having to grab space here, grab space there. It's built, it's ready to go. So all we have to do is drop a tower and drop a generator in. It makes it much easier to develop, much quicker to market.
Awesome. So, we talked about this a bit. The machine learning, artificial intelligence sort of shift in our industry, I guess maybe it hasn't quite put its roots down here in this market quite yet. When it does, we anticipate clients will see higher rack densities. So, let's think 4 to 6 or 6 to 8 was historic. Do you feel that you're well positioned to be able to grow over the next several years with these new workloads, these new requirements that require, let's say, 1, higher rack densities, but 2, direct-to-chip liquid cooling, things of that sort?
Great question, and something that we discuss and have anticipated and trying to get ahead of, quite honestly. So, to your point, we haven't really seen the AI specifically hit this building or this market, just yet. But that kind of started the conversation about density.
Sure.
I would say across the board that due to equipment manufacturers and so on and so forth, regardless of the use, whether it's AI or financial services or tech or whatever it is, we've seen a demand for higher density racks. So what was 6 to 8 is now 10, 12, 15. And we have solutions for all of that through specialty cooling, in-row cooling, direct chill water to the back of the rack cooling. We can really, and it goes to something I said previously, accommodate the customer's every need. So, we've always been able to figure out a specific solution in the event it's somewhat of a unique, now becoming more normal, requirement. But we certainly have plans in place, designs, options for tenants who are looking for that 15 to 20 and beyond rack density types.
So we have engineered to paper solutions for 25 to 30 kW, and that's with leveraging the chilled water. Beyond that, obviously, would probably be something beyond chilled water, and we would just engineer that when it came to fruition.
Excellent. So let's talk about some potential challenges that we face. So, I'm thinking about where we are and pulling up to the data center, and we're in a fairly dense urban metro. You guys talked about having a loading dock off the street, which makes it quite easier in your freight elevators to get your clients' hardware in and out. What are some of the challenges that you think you face here at 165 Halsey? Maybe it's not even today, but maybe it's growing. Are there any sort of headwinds or any obstacles or hurdles that you're planning for that are sort of top of mind for you today?
One of the biggest problems I've had is we see a tremendous amount of customer growth. And with that customer growth comes having to put customers in different data centers where they started. And the key to that was building a fiber network throughout the building that connected all of our data centers. And we built that, we own it, and we asked our customers to connect locally to a centralized cross-connect location. All those cross-connect locations are tied together through diverse fibers. That was a big problem because customers did not want to be on different floors from where they started. So once we got them comfortable with the fiber network, with them realizing that no matter where you are in our ecosystem, it does not matter. You can connect anywhere else in our ecosystem diversely at any point in time. That seemed to quell a lot of the concerns. And now it's kind of settled down where customers are much more comfortable with having 1 cage on 9, 1 cage on 6, 1 cage on 4, because that was difficult in the beginning. Everybody wanted to grow, next to their original space.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the contiguous space is always.
We're not a giant warehouse. This
Right.
is obviously a 14-floor building.
Right. Yeah, I think the contiguous space is always what customers are looking for. But from what I've seen today, you guys have tackled that challenge with ease. Another thing I'm curious about is the services within the building. So if I'm a client and I come into this building, am I controlling our being my company's servers and things like that? Does 165 Halsey have a team here doing it? Is there sort of a little bit of column A, a little column B?
So I usually have about 6 to 8 electricians in the building at all times, and about 6 to 8 technicians in the building at all times. And they are here for whatever you would like them to do. We do a full service remote hands. That's going to mostly be physical, layer 1, recycling servers, things of that nature. We do not provide any services beyond space, power, cooling, layer 1 connectivity. So we don't get into competing with our customers for certain services. We're just here to help. So the remote hands is purely here to help. We're purely here to provide the service. We don't see it as a big money maker. We see it purely as a service. The ownership group didn't want us to nickel and dime our customers. It's just here to help. It's not here as a money maker.
And again, we kind of pride ourselves on, if we're successful on getting a new customer or client into this building, we have all the confidence in the world that our services, Joe's team, and what we can provide them will keep them here. And not only keep them here, but grow here.
Yeah. We just think that anything that we can do to help our customer, we're here for that. And Joe's team, handles that on a day-to-day.
Yeah, so I expect our technicians to be on a first name basis with just about all our customers. We have customers that request certain people. We have good relationships with them. We've had customers that have told us that this is the only facility in the country they don't have to send an engineer to when they do upgrades.
Yeah.
We try to get our cross connects installed same day. Remote hands, you're going to be talking to somebody directly, instantly. We try to get on these things within minutes. We always have somebody in front of the computer, in front of the phone. Like he said, once we get you, we think we can get you to grow with us because we think you're going to like our service.
How many clients, if you're able to answer this question, how many clients do you guys have here today?
150, 200?
Yeah, I would say 150 at any point in time.
And everything from a half rack to a couple megs.
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't offer half racks anymore. So there are a few still remaining customers, but it's anywhere from a single building standard rack cabinet to dedicated compartments, 2+ megs, which is just the requirement of that specific tenant, for example.
Yeah.
It could be anything north of that, referring back to the previously discussed capacities we have available here.
All right, gentlemen. So, in today's sort of data center landscape, we're seeing lower vacancy rates. It's shifted to more of a landlord favorable market, which lends itself to an uptick in rental rates or asking rates, said differently. How are you sort of working with your clients, because you're a very well connected data center, which usually will fetch a premium rental rates. How are you sort of working with your clients to keep their costs low while also growing with fair market value?
So yeah, I think part of my job is to be very in tune with what's going on in the market, not only in the Northeast, but Virginia, even out west, so on and so forth. So as prices have increased, we try to just keep pace. We are not looking to fetch a premium, as you said there, Ed. Again, we pride ourselves on getting customers in, providing the services that keep them here and let them grow. Our pricing structure is a little unique in the industry, whereas we only charge for space and power. There's no kind of ancillary additional costs. There's no riser capacity costs. There's no cross-connect fees. There are no, percentages above the utility rate, for example. So again, we're not here to nickel and dime anybody. I think it's, as times change for inflation and our costs go up, everybody's going to see something, some level of increase, but we're trying to be as fair as possible, knowing that this is an expensive industry, both from a landlord but also from a tenant side. It's very hard for them to move, for example, and somebody might be able to just sit there and tack on a premium every other year, but that's not what we do.
Yeah. So I guess to wrap this up, what's next? What's on the horizon for 165 Halsey?
Fill the building.
Yeah.
Fill the building.
Move on to another one.
Again, I've mentioned a couple times now, the building master plan, right? So we have a really good roadmap as to how we are going to Joe's point, fill the building, right? We have the appropriate infrastructure, power, space. So it's really just kind of, I don't want to say more of the same, because again, we try to adapt as the industry changes and the market demands. But at the end of the day, the services that we have here are unique, and are in demand. So, it's equal parts sourcing and inviting new customers to come into the building, but also satisfying the existing customer demand and growth. To Joe's previous point, we've gotten them comfortable that being on different floors doesn't necessarily mean being in a different ecosystem. It's one and the same. So, I speak to customers existing and potential all the time, because like us, they're trying to protect for the future, for future growth. And we have a very systematic way of walking them through, well, this is how you might do it. This is how we would contribute to it. This is how we will get you to where you need to be, if not today, if not in 5 years, 7, 10, and beyond.
Joe, James, thanks so much for having us. Incredible facility. Always interesting to see how, some people say you see one data center, you've seen them all. This is truly a unique data center / carrier hotel. Need to throw that in there for sure, but we appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Ed.
So again, I'm Ed Sosha, Data Center Hawk. That's www.datacenterhawk.com. Tune in for more of our Hawk Talks to learn about these facilities that are around the country, how folks are doing things differently, and how they're growing with the changing times. See you on the next one.